China.
Purchase your tracks today.
要坚持领导带头，以上率下，坚持实战实训，连战连训，发扬一不怕苦，二不怕死的战斗精神。
Purchase your tracks today.
China. I love them. China.
Hello and welcome. Yeah, I got that nice shot in. Don't you guys just love some good old stereotypes sometimes? I mean, obviously not all, especially when the stereotypes are negative and generalized, then we don't like them, but if they're funny, yeah, why not? Give me some. Like Germans not having humor or being super serious. I mean, gosh, that is so true. My neighbors at home, you bang a beat at 10 p.m. Whew, they're on their phone right away. Anyways, as some of you might know, I am currently studying and doing my semester abroad in Beijing in China at the Tsinghua University. And today I wanted to show you guys what it looks like when you do some voluntary teaching for Tsinghua University at a middle school in a very rural part of China. I hope you enjoy it. I believe that most of you guys have heard various things about education in China, especially that Chinese kids study super hardcore much and that everyone is really good at math. That is kind of true. They definitely study a lot more than people in Europe do. When it comes to the rural parts in China, those schooling systems are very underdeveloped and education is not seen as the most important thing. And one reason for that is that making money plays a huge role in society in China. And the belief in China is that the earlier you start making money, the more you will. I personally really disagree with this because I don't just see education as a tool to make more money, but it is also a tool to teach you values, to teach you about cultures, about life, who you want to be, not what Arnold said it.
Dig deep down and ask yourselves, who do you want to be? Not what, but who.
Now it's time for some Chinese middle school kids. We took the bus there. That took us about 2 hours and we were picked up by some kids, which I love. There were just a few. They escorted us to the school and I think you can probably already tell that this is a very different environment to the Western school path. And I gotta say, I would not want to be walking there at night, but as there are security cameras everywhere, you're safe. Just to give you guys a quick overview of what this project was like and what we were actually supposed to do here. We're asked to do some voluntary teaching for one day, for 2 hours, each 1.5 hours at a middle school in the rural parts of China.
Hello， 你好，你好，Yeah， 哇哦，
我们想用一下那个多媒体。
We began this session with a small game which we've always played in Thailand, and there the kids absolutely loved it.
谢谢。
It's basically you just have this ball and you pass it to someone or throw it to someone, they catch it and then they say their name. Doesn't seem very hard, does it? Especially for kids that are 13 or 14 years old. But there were like 2 kids, yeah, definitely into it. Then that went down pretty quick, and the kids, they just seemed so, not just uninterested, but they just didn't want to catch the ball, they didn't want to have the attention, and I found that really fascinating. After that game, I gave a little introduction on who I am, and I said a few things in Chinese, what I was able to say, and then I continued in English, and my friend, or the other voluntary teacher, she translated the things I said into Chinese so they could understand. Following my little speech, I gave an introduction to German. I taught them how to say Guten Tag, Wie geht's dir, and the classic of Moin. Those are just things you say when you meet someone. Then we had the idea that it would be funny for them to see what Germans actually eat on a daily basis. We showed them standard German breakfast with like Aufstrich, like the stuff you put on the bread, or I don't know the English word for that. And also some pictures of what German cities look like, the churches, especially like the lake in Hamburg, how beautiful that is, and then it's very peaceful, and that there is some kind of like creative spirit about it. Like that's what I try to pass on through those pictures in my presentation. I hope I did that. Just one person, only have to inspire one person. And that all ended somehow in me signing their bookmarks, which we gave to them at the beginning of the lessons. These bookmarks had a motivational quote written on them in Chinese and English, and I somehow ended up signing all of those, and I'm pretty sure not all of them actually read what's on it, but maybe they will later. And a good motivational speech is always nice, right? The second session, we wanted to work on their creativity, because I know, or we know, that this is really something that is not paid a lot of attention to in China, especially when it comes to painting or music. It's rather seen as a competitive advantage for the child. If they're really good at it, then they do focus on it. If they don't, if they're not good at it, then you just focus on other things. And we wanted to give them a really nice typical art lesson, which I always had and I always loved when I was like 9th or 10th grade in Germany. Or like 7th or 8th as well. you just have your project, you're supposed to do something, and you kind of just end up talking to your classmates and like drawing a little on the paper. And I just absolutely love those sessions. And we wanted to pass that experience on to them. And I think we did quite well. The girls were so into it, some of the guys as well, but others were just wandering off, and then they got into this arm wrestling and I couldn't resist. In China, you do not, doesn't matter the circumstances, but you do not let the child win, because then you lose your authority. And luckily, I knew this before, but in Germany it would just be so normal to let the kid win.
Very strong.
I just arm wrestled 5 children, fucking smashed them. Subjects like arts, music, dance or theater not really gaining a lot of attention in China. We decided to just let those kids be kids, work a little on their creativity. I mean, even if you draw something super random and if it's not really involving much drawing skills, at least you're letting something out that you have in your mind, and I think that is a very important part of growing up. Just to give you guys a sense on how things work in China when it comes to education, parenting, and when those two things meet, on an average, children spend 3 hours each day doing homework. Just think back of your time in high school or in primary school. How much homework did you do? Second, 60% of primary pupils are tutored additionally English, literature and math. Just imagine going to school again on a Saturday or Sunday. Besides doing homework for 3 hours a day, doing some extra classes. I mean, wow. And there's, I think, a very interesting sort of story I would like to share with you about corruption in education in primary schools or middle schools in China, that when children want to learn English, especially when it comes to English, the teacher says that there's so much to learn in this subject and I cannot fit it all into this schedule, so I will offer an additional course on Saturday, but this one you would have to pay for, and in this course we would be doing pronunciation. So the parents are actually forced to pay in order to give their kids the same education which would be free in other countries. That leads to another extreme step, in my opinion, that parents pay 17,000 US dollars on an average each year for extracurriculum tutoring. Damn, that's a high number. And I think that these 3 facts really reflect the importance and the role education has in China.
What did you guys draw? Ooh. Oh boy. I like that. And that.
非常 OK。
Feature 很好。 Feature 很好，很好。
非常 OK， 卡了胜。
But feature is like the best. It's like 很好。
Now, to summarize this experience and what teaching for Tsinghua University has taught me is that I realized that competition is on a whole different level in China. And I didn't just learn that by teaching, but also through just living here in China or there. And we're talking about children having to study a ridiculous amount of hours each day just to satisfy the expectation that are set by society, their parents, and this is not just academic wise, this is also money wise. Some children are even forced to drop out of school at year 8 because their parents believe, they won't be geniuses, so man, just go work on a farm because you anyways have to make money. And this pressure was something that could be seen at my university as well, at the Tsinghua University. Tsinghua is currently the #1 university in Asia, and in order to get in you have to pass this massive exam in China, which 50 million students in China all take at once each year. You can only take it twice in your life. It's like the GMAT or the SAT in England or America, and only the 10,000 best get into Tsinghua University. And I think this really gives you an idea of how big this level of competition is and how hardcore this pressure must be on someone if you want to go to this dream university. But I mean, there's the chance that there's just someone in the room who's a little smarter than you. Basically for this exam, it's just a written exam, they just learn out by heart, they just memorize everything, and this is something that really just hits back on them when they're at uni, because in university you have to do presentations as well, but they're so bad at it. They lack in creativity and critical thinking so much, and when the professor asks a question, they just quote a paragraph from the textbook, and you can really see that this is just something you don't want to be. Additionally, at Tsinghua there's this rule that only the top 10% of students can get an A, so the level of competition is laid out by the university themselves to push students to even work harder and harder. And I think this can be seen good, but as the university values quantity more than quality in some cases, not in all, but in some, that for example a research paper where you have 40 pages is more likely to get the full score, an A, than a paper that only has 20 pages. And this is something I don't like, but survival of the fittest, right? And another interesting fact is that I'm currently in Honduras, and I will be doing an internship here, and I will also be teaching in the afternoon/evening at a social school where they give education to people that cannot afford it themselves or are from rough backgrounds, where parents are criminals maybe even as well. This is a real issue here in Honduras, that people join gangs at a very young age, and I really like the project. It's of a friend of mine, and I really wanted to help here, and that's the reason I'm in Honduras right now. I'm at my apartment. As you can see, such a beautiful view. I'm really glad to be here. There's some kids down there having their birthday party. See that? Super cute. And there's the neighbor dog spying on me, checking that I do everything right. Okay, and this is it. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have anything on your mind, please let me know. I prefer constructive feedback over just unnecessary comments, but thank you. Yeah.